Welcome everybody. It's we're going to get started right at 1 o'clock. I know everybody's busy right now, so we're going to get through the program. We have a lot of great things to share today. My name is Michael Smolders. I am the Chief Operating Officer and President of autologiQ, and I have the privilege of being your host today. A little bit about autologiQ. We are a new and exciting company that connects with automotive service clients digitally. So we actually connect with them through our platform and through social media. We help them with their maintenance, their repairs, tires, wheels. We have a virtual vehicle advisor team that's headquartered in Oakville, Ontario, Canada. And we partner with some of the best service providers across North America. When the work needs to be done, we connect them with our IQ network facility to actually do the work. So we decided, we've had some hyper growth this year, and this has really shown us two important things about the automotive world. Firstly, it is a great time to be in this industry. We've seen continued growth coming out of the pandemic, and every economic indicator shows that to be in the automotive service industry is the right industry to be in right now. And the second part of that with autologiQ, we've seen that consumers, they want to do their shopping online. We've seen a growth of people wanting to connect, to ask for quotes, to ask questions, and to really be served in the ways that you have seen companies like Amazon, Uber Eats, Instacart, Grocery Gateway, and all of the other online platforms that are realizing that there's a whole bunch of consumers out there that don't want to just pick up a phone or drive to your store. They want to connect with you in a different way. And autologiQ's been able to leverage that because of some of the great partners in the industry that we've dealt with. So we've brought on three of the panelists today that have helped us to share three important takeaways that we found this year. The first being, how do you attract the digital consumer? So we're going to share some of that information with you today. The second is, if you're getting a new digital consumer, how do you make them a promoter of your business? And the third would be, after you've got that new revenue generated from the digital consumer, how do you make sure that you've measured all of the money that you're spending to be able to get them to ensure that it's actually creating a return on your investment? So with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists today. First, we're going to start with Maggy Calvert. Maggy is the marketing director with InMotion Brands. Her and InMotion have been instrumental in creating more visibility for autologiQ online. Maggy, if you'd like to introduce yourself briefly and a little bit about InMotion.
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I'm a partner here at InMotion Brands. InMotion Brands is really on a mission to create value and enhance lives for business owners out there today. Essentially, we work to create strategic partnerships with our clients, regardless if you've got, one location, 10 locations, 100 locations. We really become an extension of your team to help you grow your business digitally. Day to day, I oversee really all business operations, whether it is project management, SEO, or client relations for everybody across North America. So definitely excited to be here today and hopefully provide some insight on what we're seeing in the market.
Well, thank you, Maggy. And if you can just share out with all the people on the call today what you've done with us, they're definitely going to benefit. So the second person I'd like to introduce is a longtime partner of ours, Alan Beech. Alan has been instrumental not only with autologiQ, but also with Mechanic, helping to train our team specifically in creating a positive client experience. We know that if we want to promote our business, the best way to do that is through our clients. Alan, if you could introduce yourself and Beech Consulting.
Sure. Thanks, Michael. My name's Alan Beech. I've been in the industry virtually my whole life. I work in the corporate side of automotive repair with Goodyear, and then spent 22 years owning my own shop. During that time, I had the pleasure of starting a little tire storage company that became Tire Hotel, and it grew across Canada. For the last 10 years, I have been working in Beech Consulting, helping shop owners. And that's my real passion, is to help shop owners do better, as is Murray, such a good guy. And in us growing this industry and helping shop owners to be more profitable and have a better experience of entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
Thank you, Alan. And you're right. We're very fortunate that not only do we get one great consultant like yourself, who's a great coach, but also Murray Voth, like to introduce him. Murray likewise has helped our team to be able to train them up to understand how to run a shop effectively. But also some new technology that he has, we've actually tapped into to help us measure some of the results that we're having with autologiQ. Murray, if you'd like to introduce yourself in RPM.
Sure, Murray Voth, RPM training. Started off as a car wash attendant and cashier at a Petro-Canada in 1986. Got to owning and operating my own service stations for close to 25 years. Did dealer development work for Petrocan and a bit for Shell, and got into the coaching industry. I was helped by a gentleman by the name of Bob O'Connor, who many of you listening might have remembered. And I said, I'm going to be like him when I grow up. And here I am. I'm now coaching other shop owners. Unlike Alan, Alan and I, we go back, we chat, we've had coffee and dinner together over the years and shared our passion for serving shop owners. You might say we're competitors, but at the end of the day, we're on the same team, serving the shop ownership. So that's our passion and our pleasure to help them with their profitability, their processes, and Alan's specialty again with that client experience piece. So yeah, it's a privilege to be here.
That's excellent. Murray, you touched on something that's very important with autologiQ as well. We partner with service providers, right now across Canada, we'll be heading into the US as well. And the key thing you said there is, we're not in competition with our service providers, we're working together. We have a real opportunity now in 2023 to transform the automotive industry. We're having this massive growth. And if we do things the right way, we can change the whole paradigm and understanding of what it means to have your vehicle serviced, how to extend the useful life of it, and how to do that in a very positive way. So let's talk about attracting that digital consumer. Maggie, I want to start with you because this is a lot of people on the call today really want to understand this. What does the data suggest? And is it true that more and more consumers are doing their shopping online?
Yeah. I think we all know the answer to this is an absolute, without a doubt, yes. I mean, people are online more than ever. They can find, what they want, when they want, on whatever device they want with just a few clicks. So it's happening all over the place. I think the broader question becomes, are automotive businesses, are they positioned to take advantage of that growing trend? And unfortunately, typically that answer is not necessary. A lot of businesses are only relevant online when somebody searches for their specific name. And that really is a missed opportunity for finding those net new customers. Think of how many people are out there searching for Maggy's Automotive compared to brake service near me, or buy winter tires, book an oil change. There's more people online looking for the services that you offer compared to, your actual business. And so that's the opportunity that we're seeing.
That's we see it across the board here as well, that people are asking for specific things. What are some of the key searchable items that people are shopping for in the automotive world?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot out there. I'll just share my screen because I had just pulled some for Canada. So we can just use that as an example. So we'll just throw this up here. But I mean, there's a number of search volumes out there. Again, this is just some of them. This is average monthly searches. So as an example, we've got, tire shop, oil change near me, as I mentioned, all very generic, high volume keywords. We've also got on the right-hand side a lot of finance terms that, although the searches aren't staggering, they are steadily increasing month over month. So it's definitely something that we're starting to see that we need to keep an eye on and make sure that, we're targeting those keywords. But with all of the keywords out there, it really depends on that specific business and what their core goals are. And we can really kind of strategically work on those keywords to make sure that, We're not just kind of throwing everything up there and hoping for the best, but we have some type of strategic plan in place to target the keywords that they want to be found for. So typically we have conversations with our clients and talk about, what are the gaps that you're seeing? What business do you want to grow? Who are your core customers? What are those customers searching for online? And having all of that information can help us be a little bit more strategic. As an example.
So what you're saying is kind of like a cookie cutter approach is probably not the best approach, where you could just have a canned website that you'll just put up there, but something that's more detailed and specific to your business.
You got it, 100%. I mean, every business out there has different motivations, right? And I mean, we've got some simple examples of that here. This is 3 of our current customers. We've got autoniche based out of Markham, Ontario. Her core business is mechanical services. We've got Motion Tires in the bottom left here out of Calgary. Their core service is tires. And then we've got Automotion on the right. They're out of Reno, Nevada, and their core service is that really high-end luxury vehicle. So all of them have different goals, different target customers. So to have a blanket website talking about the same services isn't going to be beneficial for them at all, right? So we'll have conversations with each of these clients, we'll identify what those opportunities are, and we'll put strategic plans in place to help them be more visible for the customers that they want to see. So an example of that, this is just a screenshot of some of the keywords that Automotion is ranking for right now. So again, this is the shop out of Reno, Nevada, looking at that specialty car industry. They really want to be targeting those Lamborghinis, those Bugattis, the Maseratis of the world. And so this is just rankings from the past month on the first page of Google. We're doing just that. People are searching for these types of terms, and Automotion is being served up as an option, and it's connecting that search to the business to drive a lead to their shop. And so this is, we can typically see some success with keyword ranking quite quickly when we have this strategic approach in place. And so that's a conversation that we have with, every potential client that we work with. Without turning this into a full day webinar, this list of digital solutions is really how we make that happen. So we'll have those conversations with clients, and we'll put together, some type of combination of these solutions to really help them be more visible online, not just to everyone, but to those target customers that they want to be in front of.
Excellent. I also want to encourage anybody that does want to ask a question, we'll bring it up there and we'll ask it at the end of somebody speaking. Is there a question there, Akash? Oh, hello, James. Welcome to you on the call. I just want to have a quick follow-up before we get over to Alan. What have you seen, Maggie, as being, because I know that your team goes out and talks to a lot of different service providers. What have you seen is the major challenge that a business owner has to overcome to be able to enter into the digital world? Where are those barriers?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say there's probably 3 that come to mind as kind of the top barriers. I mean, the first one is time. It's always going to be time. The shops are busy. They're doing what they can day to day. Most of the time, it's probably like they're drinking from a fire hose. They're just trying to keep up with the business, right? So that's definitely the biggest barrier that we see. The second is there's a knowledge gap out there. Don't get me wrong, the automotive industry is a very technical and skilled industry, but when you start talking about website development and online marketing, it can become a foreign language to some, which is completely understandable. So trying to learn that or reach out for help can be super daunting. The third one would be, where they're going for help. Typically, if they do have the time and they want to look into it and they want to reach out for assistance, they're usually going to their key vendors or their tire or parts suppliers, and they don't necessarily specialize in the digital side of things. So they may not have, the best solutions available that other companies, like Emotion Brands might have available for them to use.
Mhm. Yeah, we've seen that. I would add a fourth to that as well, that when we've had contacts with service providers and talking to them about autologiQ and us being able to, essentially handle their social media marketing by sending them our clients and us handling. And it's really this traditional way of doing things, still investing in thousands of dollars in print advertising that is not measurable, that they're not seeing a good return on, where they could spend just a few $100s in a different area. So it's kind of like they're just continuing to do the same old things that didn't work. So it's great to have companies like yourself that are helping to change that. So once InMotion gets in there and changes the website, and now all of a sudden you're having a bunch of new clients coming to you from the digital world, I want to reach out to you now, Alan, and say, what are the levels of service that these clients, and I'm specifically thinking about 35 and young under, probably women, what are they expecting when they come into your shop?
Right on. Great question, Michael. Before I go there, I just want to go back. I'm sure Murray sees this the same way, that so many shop owners are trying to do what Maggy does themselves, and they're wasting time. And when there's a company like InMotion Brands that can help you with it, and you don't have to learn, you don't have to be watching YouTube to figure out how to do this, that you can just do it and it'll have an impact immediately. It's time to take a professional on and help your business. Do you agree, Murray?
Yes, 100%. I've been grinning inside ever since Maggy was talking.
Yeah,
about
right
the
on.
challenges. Yeah.
So back to Michael's question. I'll share a slide with you just quickly. And if you get that customer into your door, how do you turn them into a promoter who is going to then talk all over social media about you? So let me ask a question. And I want you to put yourself in the shoes of a customer for a moment. Customers coming in with their vehicle, what are they expecting from you? And I know that we have a lot of shop owners. They would say, well, it has to be done timely. It has to be done without any defects, and it has to be done at a fair price. And that would be probably, if a customer gets that, then they'd be wowed. But let me ask you a question. Do you think you would fill up your shop? If you did that with every customer, do you think your shop would be full? It wouldn't, because the reality is that there's lots of top shops out there, and they're all striving to do that same thing. So how do you separate yourself, and how do you become different for your customers? And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that process isn't important, because that's what Murray and I both do. We help shops with process. Are you prepared for the customer before they arrive? Do you know who's coming through the door? Do you know what they're coming in for? Do you know what their deferred work is? Do you fully inspect the vehicle every time? Do you share the results of your inspection? And probably do you do it digitally? Do you quote the whole job and show the customer what needs to be done now and what can be done in the future? And then do you follow up with that? Do you clean the car after it's done? Do you do the little extras that make it great? Are you working on your culture? Because don't ever expect your customers to be happier than your staff are. If your staff isn't happy and they're grumbling all day, your customers won't be happy. So there's lots of things that are really important. But in the end, we're selling a commodity that can be replicated at the shop down the street and can be done with you. And that doesn't mean that, shops that do this process really well aren't busy. But imagine if there was a paradigm shift, and it was a paradigm shift from a commodity that you can get anywhere to an experience that they can only get at your shop. So when I heard this the first time, and I remember I heard it at a conference, and the DeJulius organization was up there talking about this, my mind exploded, because you can make an experience that nobody else can provide. And when that experience is memorable to the client, they return. So, and price becomes less relevant. I'm not saying it becomes irrelevant, but it becomes less relevant when the service is memorable. So let's talk about what it means to be memorable. So if we have a service and it's an okay experience, you got it done on time, the oil change was done at a fair price, and you didn't get any grease on the steering wheel, there was no footprints in the car when you left, it's done. Yeah, that's great. But is that going to hold your customer? The reality is it probably won't. So many shops get caught up on get it in, get it out, get it in, get it out. And, that won't hold your customer, because that's a commodity. You're serving up a commodity that's transactional. But if it could be an experience, oops, my slide didn't go. If it could be an experience that the customer remembers, that's when they have to decide in the future whether to come back or not. They say, I remember that shop. I remember how good they were. And I'm gonna break it down a little bit more. And they're likely to leave a review for you because they've never had this type of service. So how do we do this? Okay, how do we make it memorable? We set up a system to obtain customer intelligence that we can use to personalize the customer's experience, and leading the customer to say, how did they do that, or how did they know that? Okay, so now that I've talked all around it, I'm going to give some examples of this. So I remember a shop that told me a story about a customer coming in because he was buying a vehicle for his wife, and he was coming in to have a pre-purchase inspection done on the vehicle. And it was a sports car, and he was going to then take it home to his wife and give it to her for her birthday. Customer explained the story, as they oftentimes do. Well, the shop then said, there's an opportunity for me to get involved in it. So what they did was, during the day after the car had been inspected and they realized everything was good, they went out to the party store and they bought a big red ribbon, and a red ribbon that could go right on top of the car. And then they bought a card for the husband so that he could give it to his wife. So can you imagine how good that shop made the husband look when he came home? And can you imagine what a positive experience that was for the husband? Then the husband says, well, where am I going to go next? I would only go back to that shop, because that shop was able to help me and give me an amazing experience that he will never forget. Now, you may say, oh yeah, but Alan, you're talking about spending money on every customer. No, I'm not. I'm talking about collecting intelligence, putting it into your system, and then being able to use it in the future. So what type of intelligence would you collect? Well, we use the acronym FORD, okay? And it's a very simple acronym. F stands for family. And I encourage you, when you interact with your customers this afternoon or tomorrow, listen for how much information a customer divulges, and you will be blown away. So imagine them talking about their family. Imagine how they would talk about their occupation, how they would talk about their recreation or their dreams. And imagine that the customer is saying, look, for our recreation, we're going to take a holiday this year, and we're going to go to Greece. And so the customer then, you just wrote that down in your system, and the next time in, the customer says, he comes in the front door and you go, hey, Bob, how are you doing? How was your trip to Greece? And the customer goes, wow, he remembered that. I must be important to that customer. Or imagine they talk about their little boy, Johnny, who has just gotten a hockey scholarship from, say, Michigan State University. So he's gone down there, and that customer then walks through the door. And you say, oh, by the way, how is Johnny doing? I've been wondering how his hockey career is going. It just changes the whole discussion to make you memorable with that customer. And I could go through countless examples of how you could do this, but you can see how the two last examples I get cost you nothing, but change the game with the customer. If you want to know more about this, I encourage you to pick up the book by John DeJulius called The Customer Service Revolution. And you might think, oh yeah, it's going to be a boring read. No, it's a quick read. It's a real quick read, and you won't be able to put it down. And he makes things just crystal clear on how you do it. just an interesting little note. I stay in touch with this organization. Guess who they're working with right now? They're working with one of the major cities, their police department, because the police department understands that they are in the business of helping their community. And they realize that the person on the street is their customer, and they're changing the game in the policing. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Alan. And on the Ford acronym, the first one, the F, the family, is so important. At the shop level, when I would shuttle clients home, it was my favorite thing to do, especially for a new client. And if we're talking about the digital consumer, we're predominantly talking about new clients to your location. So when I would shuttle them home, I would drive them to their house, the first question I ask them is, did you grow up around here? And then would have an answer. And that answer would come from, usually was, they're not from here, they're from someplace else. So the next question would be, oh, well, where were you from there? And I would ask that question all the way back till they couldn't go any further. So they would tell me they're from Africa or from England. Next thing you know, I actually knew more about their family than their best friends knew. And they instantly trusted me and our shop to be able to be a approved provider for them. So that's a tip that I recommend. And on top of that, it's the idea of, when we're growing across North America here with autologiQ, there's different service providers who have different philosophies of how to serve a client. And to your point, Alan, some don't see the investment in a digital inspection. They don't see the investment in a courtesy car or a shuttle. And I would encourage them to do that. And we see time and time again that the locations that are generating the most revenue from us are the ones that are offering these extra customer experience items, like you suggested.
And I think that one step further, and I'm sure Murray's thinking the identical thing that I'm thinking. If you don't have a coach, go get a coach. There's nothing that will make you more money and clean up your operation faster than you getting a coach to help your business. A coach should make at least 10 to 1. And if he's not making 10 to 1, you should fire him right now. So
all my clients are clearly doing the math to make sure. Oh, I'm confident with that. I know what the results that we get with that.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing with you, Murray, is you're an advocate for measuring things, as we are here at autologiQ, and all good businesses make sure that they're measuring all of the things they're doing, whatever they're spending out there. They want to make sure that they can get the return on investment. And that's what was very important for you to come on today, because I know that you have some great technology that helps us do that. But my first question would be just on what we're talking about, shuttle, digital inspection. How do we know that we're actually charging enough at our store, or that we should be investing in certain types of digital marketing or building up websites?
Like Maggie said, this is not supposed to be an all-day webinar. There's a quick math that someone can do. You take a cost of something and divide it by your net profit to find out what sales you need to replace that, right? And it goes back to the day when I had convenience stores, right? For every chocolate bar that got stolen, we had to sell 7 chocolate bars to replace it, right? So you could take your coaching fee of whatever, $100 a month. You could take your cost of your website, and cost of InMotion brands, whatever their monthly fees would be, and you could do a division. Obviously, the benchmark that we talk about, Alan and I talk about, is a 20% net, but you could do with reality what you're there. All of this stuff is measurable. We ask people to measure the source of their clients. A key thing to ask when somebody shows up in the conversation is, hey, how did you hear of us, or who referred you here? And document the source, right? Whether it's Google or Facebook or what they hear. A lot of people don't actually remember, but it helps you measure that. But if I could just share my screen as well, I'm going to show you a tool that we use. Now, this tool is called a composite, is a generic term. I know Alan has a composite that he uses with his clients. I have this composite. Mine's called the Business Results Analysis Tool, that our clients put their numbers in. We track their revenue categories, we track their cost of goods, and then we track their profit margins. And we can look at it in dollars, or we can do percentage. This is a real shop. I've got it on a privacy setting so that I'm not divulging the person's name. And we can see how they're doing. All right. Now, we also talk about expenses. We talk about their expenses as a ratio to sales. We talk about certain key numbers. You know, how much should you spend in marketing as a business? What is best practices, right? So the other thing that we do is, in our coaching process in groups, they can compare themselves to their peers in their own group. So I'll have groups of 10 people, but they can also compare themselves to everybody that I have numbers for. So these are the people that have submitted numbers for November, and they could look at things like overall gross profit, or they can look at parts gross profit. We can rank them by name, or we can rank them by who did the best and who did the worst, right? And usually the people who aren't doing as well are motivated to ask these other people, hey, how did you get there? How did you do that? So at the end of the day, you need to measure what you're doing, and then you can measure the impact of what the cost of something would be. So until you actually measure what you're currently doing, you don't know if you can afford social media or not, technically. Yeah, I'm going to say you can't not afford it. All right. You cannot afford Maggie and her team. I'm going to say that point blank, that you cannot afford that. But if you want to make a decision about that, like as a business owner, about that, or about a new scan tool, or about a hoist, or about some other kind of thing that you want to do, you know, the idea, you know, Alan, you talked about, you know, spending a small amount of money on a ribbon. I teach my clients how to calculate something called their facility service rate. I don't use the word labor rate anymore, right? Facility service rate. So I have a calculator that they can put in, you know, all their stuff like this. And then we say, okay, what would it cost to spend an additional $20 per visit on our client? Just to throw the $20 out there, whether it be a courtesy car, whether it be a shuttle ride, an Uber ride, a ribbon on a car, a Tim Hortons gift card, a Starbucks gift card, or something to say thank you that way. And then we could plug that in and go, you know what, my service rate is currently $127.82 an hour. For just, if I just go to $129.84, I can afford $20 per visit for something extra that I can do it. But I actually know that I can do it because I've been measuring it, right? Again, it's an old adage, but you know, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. We have another tool similar to this one here that is depending on the software that you run your shop with, it will actually go in and draw the data out and send you a daily email. It will send the owner of the shop a daily email. It will send a service advisor, each individual service advisor, a daily email with their sales and 12 key performance indicators like parts margin, like sold hours per work order, like sold hours per technician per day. And then they get a month over month, how they're doing compared to December of last month, and how they're doing year over year, and do that. And it gives them a complete dashboard of those KPIs to look at. So literally at 7 p.m. every day, whatever their time zone is, these owners are getting this email, and they're absolutely loving it because now they've got a built-in accountability and a tracking system, and everybody on the team's aware of what they're doing. Michael, I don't want to get lost in the weeds here with numbers and tools. At this point, probably you have some questions along those lines of what I was talking about.
Yeah, you know what, as you were talking and I was listening to Alan and Maggie, you know, it becomes evident why we've been successful with our company. It's because of using the tools that each of you have provided, whether you're training or the actual tangible tool as well. What I would like to do is, we're about to wrap up here, and I'd like to, first of all, if anybody has any questions, put it in now so I can ask it after I ask this question from all of the panelists. Let's do something tangible now. We're entering into 2023. I'm a service provider on the call, and I want 2023 to be 10, 20, 30% better than 2022. So my question to each of you, and I'll start with you, Murray, start with the last one just spoke. What is the one or two financial investment that you think that a service provider should make beginning in January 2023 to be able to have lasting impact over the whole year?
Alan, do you want to quickly ask your question before I answer those three?
Yeah, you know, I want to ask of Murray. Murray, have you ever had shop owners that say, you know what, my shop is nowhere even near to where you're at. I'm not doing good. You know, I'm going to wait until I get better before I take on coaching.
Yes, it happens. And I scrolled through those numbers very quickly, and I didn't spend a lot of time on the bottom numbers where somebody was only at 23%. profit margin on their parts. You can't lift yourself up by your own bootstraps. The physics are impossible, right? And so people need to understand that with peers, not just coaches, with peers together, they will lift each other up. A lot of the impact is by their own peers. Murray and Alan, we only do a part of the meeting, right? Other peers will be, I've been there, I've done that, I've had that challenge. They'll give them a pat on the back, they'll lift them up, they'll encourage them, they'll explain the tool for them that they're using. So yeah, that Alan, you're right on there. So my answer to Michael, first thing is invest in your people. And that means everything from sending them to training, right? Alan's client care training, right? The form training, all of that, like send them to that. I have, some advisor training as well, would be invest in your people. A lot of best practices in my circle of people now is pensions, getting into RRSPs, shared RRSPs, and shop owners will be like, how in the world can a shop afford that? Well, they're all affording it because of the coaching and their profitability. They're now having this shared RRSP program. Number two, invest in Maggie and her company and or somebody that does what she does. You don't have the time. I just hired another coach. She just started today, part-time, but I'm really sort of a one-man band here. And I actually have a marketing sense. My kids tell me that I know how to game the Facebook algorithm. And I said, it's very simple. It's just old dad jokes, right? Old dad jokes, babies and kittens. Now maybe that's good. Maybe that's a bygone, but you know what? I've hired an agency. I hadn't met Maggie or In Motion at the time. So I worked with a different agency because I had to delegate it out. Right. And I'm reaping the rewards. In 3 months, I'm probably getting, a new contact a week through that marketing. So invest in that part. And I'm going to add a third piece, which is invest in information, advice, coaching, and the rest of that. I know that sounds a little bit self-serving, but I'm spoiled. I work, with the top 20% of shops in Canada, as Alan does. And the thing is there's room for lots more because 20% of whatever just grows to be more people, right? So they get to do better. And on a very specific note, back to you, Maggie, based on my reading, my experience, and my knowledge, having a place on your website for a appointment request. Shop owners are like, I don't want you to be able, the customers to access my scheduler. That's not what I have discovered and my clients have discovered. They don't want to log on and place themselves in at 2:00. The people you want are busy people whose time is money, who don't want to phone a shop and be put on hold to make an appointment. All they want to do is go to a website, plug in name car, send it, and have an advisor answer them back and then negotiate when that appointment is actually going to be while they're working, right? I would love my shop to just have a click of a button so that I could go book an appointment and not have to phone to make the appointment because I'm busy on Zoom all day, right? In my breaks, I can respond back to the advisor. That to me, that alone, that little piece is going to help attract some of the better buying public. And I'm imagining, Maggie, your research with the type of people that you and autologiQ are attracting, they're all busy people. They're not looking to be put on hold on the phone. They're looking for digital ways of approaching that. So just a little plug for that one specific tool.
Yeah, 100%. It really becomes, that ease of doing business, and you got it nailed right on the head, right? They may not have time to pick up the phone, as you said, be on hold, go back and forth, to have just a simple email or text, something that's available, just to touch base. And that's the way it's going 100%. And we try and work that into, all of the sites that we have helped build and develop. We have lots of CTAs, so calls to actions on those websites. They're all trackable. So whether it is to request an appointment, it might be just a general inquiry form, what are your hours, or do you have a shuttle, whatever that is. We have all of that front and center so they can find what they're looking for when they want to find it as quickly as possible. Has a huge impact.
Yeah, we found the same thing at autologiQ. I mean, essentially, is our whole business is leveraging the time and convenience aspect that people they want an easy app to be able to book all of their appointments through, and we built up this great network of stores that we can send them to do the physical work. So we've seen the exact same thing as you mentioned, both Murray and Maggie. Alan, what would be your answer to that? Where would you spend the money if you could tell a store tomorrow what to spend money on something for next year? What would it be?
So I'm going to go a little bit more practical with it. So smaller picture, bit more zoomed in. And I would say the most profitable thing you can do in the new year is to get your inspection program working.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And start with employing a digital inspection in your shop, and start by tell the customer every point of contact that you've got this cool program where you're going to be inspecting their vehicle and you're going to be sending them the results. So share it with them at every point. You book the appointment, tell them, by the way, part of this the service we're going to give you is we're going to be inspecting your vehicle. And there's no obligation. We're going to be inspecting it and we're going to be sending the results to your phone. Inspect the vehicle. When you inspect the vehicle, quote the work, and don't get in the habit of not quoting it. Quote it, track it, follow up with it, share it with the customer. And the final thing is you're going to have so much work on the go that you're going to need to slow down. Stop putting so many cars through your shop.
Yes.
Slow it down,
Yes.
have larger work orders, which allow your employees to be happier in what they do, and there's less pressure and you're more profitable.
That's a great answer, Alan. And you can make those bigger work orders, grow those average work orders, make it affordable with programs like we have at autologiQ, easy monthly payments, where a service provider can provide this to their own clients as well. And certainly you see that those average work orders grow significantly. Maggie, last to you, where would you spend your money on a shop that you're opening up tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all guess where I would recommend based off of what I do for a living, but I think there has to be some representation of investment in the digital space. Knowing that that's where, a lot of the communication is going. As we said, people are online looking, shopping, they want fast, easy, convenient, and making sure that you are set up to be found and visible online is huge. If you have that seasonality in your business, if that starts to slow, ensuring that you have a strong digital presence is going to hopefully help, even out those highs and lows. What the digital aspect looks like for each individual person can vary. It would depend on what your current performance and presence looks like, but definitely at least having an understanding of where you're at. At Emotion Brands, we offer a free digital audit. And so we can audit your current website and provide you that feedback. Doesn't mean you have to partner with us. You can take that to the current provider and hold them accountable. If there's issues that we're seeing, then you can address them however you like. But just to make sure that, your digital presence is in peak performance for the year will definitely help attract those net new customers that we know are searching for services online currently.
Excellent. Well, I want to, anybody have any last comments at all?
Well, I actually do. I want to sort of add a couple of things together that everybody has said. We've talked about average work order size going up and people spending more per visit. And we're talking about the benefit for the shop, but we also have to turn back and help everybody listening understand why that's a benefit to the driving public. See, the driving public doesn't understand how to look after a car. The average person might think that an oil change is enough. And so what ends up happening after doing oil changes for 5 years, they finally have a breakdown, show up at a shop, and they now need $5,000 worth of work. And now they're mad. And now they're mad at the car. They're mad at the shop that they've showed up at. And they're just plain mad. As opposed to the $5,000 is a reality regardless. So why not do it in $1,000 visits over the course of 5 years and not have a breakdown? And at the end of the day, have less visits. Having 3 oil changes and 2 tire changeovers and a check engine light here and a brake squeak over there. Why not have 3 visits a year and look after all of it? There's a whole convenience factor, and consumers are actually resonating with higher work order size because they're actually coming to understand what Alan said with the digital inspection. They're going, oh, that's what my car needs. Now I understand what I'm actually need to do to look after my car. All these cars that are doing the get them in, get them out that Alan just, right, which just makes me twitch when I hear that, average work order size of $150, those poor advisors, don't have a minute in the day to actually, never mind make a connection with the client. They don't even have time to actually bring up any information on that vehicle. So as an industry, that commoditization that we've done has been a disservice for the last 50 years. One of the things that I share as a passion with Michael, I know for sure your company, Michael, and Alan, I'm sure we've touched on this over the years, is if you can make a car last a long time in Canada, take the average person and make it last 11 to 12 years, you can save them tens of thousands of dollars in depreciation from replacing that car. This conversation that we're having here today saves people tens of thousands of dollars in the lifetime of owning a vehicle.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And you hit it right on the head. I mean, we founded autologiQ on that purpose, to extend the useful life of the vehicle and to bring it full circle what we talked about at the beginning about the two takeaways from our growth this year has been, the first was the automotive industry. I mean, now more than ever, with interest rates growing up, the price of new vehicles going up, people need to extend the useful life of their vehicle. And they don't extend it by getting discounts every visit and just doing the bare minimum. They extend it by treating it the way it's supposed to be treated, as a highly functional engine and machinery.